If you watch Saturday's video report, you know I broke down the Manny Pacquiao-Jeff Horn fight brilliantly, and I'm going to get to my comments on the outcome of what happened on Saturday night in just a moment. But first, a quick story. As you know, my beat was boxing as a sports reporter. I covered every major fight in the latter part of the 80s. The biggest bout that I ever covered, no ifs, ands, or buts, it was the Hagler-Leonard fight. So much was riding on it for the boxers and really for my career. And I'll tell you why here in just a second. And then I'll come back and I'll comment on the outcome of the fight. Now, back in those days, they didn't call it pay-per-view because all the fights were on closed circuit television and it was pre-internet days. So in order for TV stations and radio stations and even newspapers to get the information, to get it out to the public, it was guys like me that would go to the fight and then we would call in the outcome. And literally, I would go to the fight and call in play-by-play to somebody on the other end of the phone who, and remember, we didn't have cell phones back in that day, right? It was a landline. I'd be calling in the fight, doing play-by-play, and there was a guy who would be typing just as fast as I'm talking, with another guy looking over his shoulder, listening to me on speakerphone, making sure that the guy who's typing is accurately getting my description to getting it out there over the wire service that I was employed by. And understand, the play-by-play I was doing was not the play-by-play that I had done for the previous 10 years when I was doing play-by-play for basketball and for football. No, it's play-by-play where I was literally editing what I was seeing because I was trying to give short descriptive phrases for the guy to get ready to send out for those 3-minute recaps immediately for all the television, radio stations, and newspapers to immediately clear the wire to let the public know what was going on. So I was painting a picture verbally of what the action that I was seeing. So you had Hagler and you had Leonard. And it was an interesting fight because you had a contrast in styles. So end of the fight comes up. It was a very close fight. But I had decided, based on my knowledge of boxing, that Leonard was the winner. And listen, I'd grown up watching boxing with my father. I've been watching boxing since I was 7 or 8 years old. Nothing I saw in that fight was going to dissuade my opinion of who won that fight. So the minute it was done, immediately I told him, send out. Leonard was the winner. They immediately sent out Leonard as the winner. Within 30 seconds, somebody at ESPN calls up the wire service I'm working for and says, is your guy sure that Leonard won? I get a phone call, the other end of the phone. Are you sure Leonard won? Like, what? One of the dumbest questions I was ever asked in my life. Am I sure Leonard won? Well, yeah, based on my experience, because I feel, having watched boxing my entire life, having covered more fights than anybody else probably in that little section that I was working in that night, that I was every bit as qualified to be a judge as any judge that was sitting there judging the fight that night. And yet it's still a subjective call. And I said Leonard won? Absolutely. What was I going to do? Oh, hey, sorry, I changed my mind. On second thought, I retracted. The other guy won. Well, as you know, the end of the story is that Leonard did win. And I was a genius that night. Listen, there were a lot of other news organizations that said Leonard lost. There were a lot of other people that could make an argument that Hagler won. But the way I judged the fight was that Leonard, by staying to the outside, accumulating points, using his boxing skills, using his legs, using his jab, the way I judged the fight, he accumulated enough points by being the aggressor in the fight that he negated Hagler's strength, negated Hagler's ability to get inside, and took away Hagler's biggest edge, which was his toughness and his power. And in my eyes, that gave Leonard the win. Again, when you judge a boxing match, it's subjective. You didn't have that in last night's fight. No way. Let me tell you something. I am more qualified to be a judge than those 3 judges you had last night. I'm watching that fight last night, and listen, I can take Teddy Atlas this much. Maybe that much, okay? Teddy, you gotta have, you gotta one hand in your ear when you listen to Teddy Atlas. You're going to listen so much. But his scorecard and my scorecard, exactly the same. Your scorecard was exactly the same. There's people that only, you can wear a blindfold And you knew that Manny won that fight last night. But what did I tell you in yesterday's analysis of the fight? I told you that the fight was going to go the distance, and one of the reasons it was going to go the distance, and one of the reasons that the people on ESPN yesterday, the 17,000 at that point when I had done my video report that had already voted on the poll, the 54% of them that said that Manny was going to win the fight by knockout, they didn't know what the hell they were talking about because Manny had lost his punching power. He lost it years ago. It had been 12 fights in almost 8.5 years since he had knocked anybody out. Miguel Cotto back in 2009. And you saw in the 9th round, when he needed the knockout, he didn't have it. Guys that go old, they lose their punching power. It's the first thing that goes. Manny didn't have it, and that's what he needed. And he didn't have it. So that was a bad bet. The bet was it was going to go the distance. The other thing I warned you about is that when you go on the home turf of the other guy, you are always going to be at risk and it be jeopardizing your ability to win the fight because it's the hometown crowd decision. And even though one judge was from Argentina and one was from New York and the other one was from the U.S. as well, they saw a different fight. Yes, judging a fight is subjective based on how you think one guy's the aggressor, one guy's not. Now, I'm not exactly sure how you can say the guy that won the fight was the aggressor when he only connected on 15% of his punches and Manny connected on 32%, or the guy that won the fight connected on, 17% of his power punches and Manny connected on over 30% of his. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I don't know what fight they were watching. And the guy that judged it to be 117-111 in favor of Horn, my God, he only had Manny Pacquiao winning the 3rd, the 8th, and the 9th round. I think that's because he was taking a bathroom break in rounds 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12. I think he was calling dominoes in between. I think he was eating. I didn't think he watched any of those rounds. So, and boxing missed a golden opportunity. Here you had a championship fight on free TV, a big name fighter, and that is the problem with boxing. And there's a multitude of problems with boxing. You have the alphabet organizations, the WBC, the IBF, the WBO, the ABC. I don't care what you call them. They're all Mickey Mouse organizations. You don't have a national federation of officials. Think about it. People criticize the NFL for the officiating, but at least you have one union of officials with one set of rules, with one interpretation of those rules. You still have mistakes being made, but you don't have one general union of officials for boxing. It's one of the most corrupt sports out there. You have different rules and different interpretations. You don't have one set of guidelines. It's a worldwide, and you have too many Mickey Mouse organizations running it. Boxing missed a golden opportunity last night, and it's another reason why the younger generation has turned off and turned away from mainstream boxing and turned to the Mickey Mouse joke of, MMA and UFC and all that other crap. It's one of the reasons that I got turned off by boxing over the years. Golden opportunity boxing missed last night. Now, Horn says, hey, bring on Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, hey, Jeff, seriously, be careful what you ask for. There's a rematch clause. Manny says, yeah, he'll take a rematch. Guess what? Same thing's going to happen again. It's going to be in Brisbane. It's going to be a rematch in Australia. It's going to, once again, just be as corrupt officiating as you had last night. Maybe corrupt is a tough word to use. It's going to be as one-sided and as biased as you had last night. And again, Manny's going to be another year older, and his punching power isn't going to be any better. He fought a great fight last night. I told you he's going to work inside. He's going to throw punches and flurries. He was in great shape, and he did everything that Manny Pacquiao could do at this stage of his career, other than knock the guy out. And he's not going to be able to win the rematch either. And Horn, if he fights anybody younger, who's just as skilled, but younger, he's going to lose. He's nothing. He's nothing. Other than a bleeder, he's nothing. Oh, I've had enough to say. Let's move on. Let's get to your complimentary play. I'm going to go with the Dodgers on the run line because why the hell not? Why would you not bet the Dodgers? They won last night 8-0. They won Friday 10-4. They've won 14 out of 16. They've won 20 out of 23. They've scored 146 runs in the past 22 games. They're 7-1 in the season series against the Padres, outscoring them 63-18. They're 32-14 in the last 46 games against the Padres. I don't care who is pitching today for either team. It really doesn't matter, because when a series is this one-sided, not just this season, but the past 3 years, when a team is this hot like the Dodgers are, and remember, the Dodgers have not played exceptionally well outside of LA this year, but they certainly have played well against the Padres here at Petco Park, a pitcher-friendly park. And what have they done? 18 runs in the first 2 games in this series? Yeah. And there's no love lost between these two teams? Yeah. I'll take the Dodgers on the run line, and that'll be your complimentary play today. Good luck, everybody, and talk to you again tomorrow when we do this one more time.